Ernest, so what do you make of how the offensive line has played to this point in camp, and then specifically looking to Saturday scrimmage? What do you want to accomplish as an offensive line in that scrimmage?
Yeah, well, for sure. Me personally, I always just talk about reps, and it takes reps and to build camaraderie and good chemistry and everything. And I feel like we've gotten a lot of that leading up to now. So now it's just about making sure everything molds together the right way and correctly. And this time of year compared to scrimmage one, it's just about making better checks. Sometimes getting some better plays, certain coverages or pressures and stuff like that. So it's just making the whole thing come around full circle and trying to tighten up everything you can going into Saturday.
Yeah, we all know how the Notre Dame game went for the offensive line specifically. How much does that game still kind of stick in you guys' head as you look back to last year? Of like, obviously it didn't end the way you wanted, but that game in particular was a rough one as you look forward to this year.
I mean, yeah, no, for sure. That's not the only game we lost, though, as well. So, you look at every loss that you take and you go back to the drawing board and reassess and try to figure out a way to get better and improve from it. And you just remember that feeling from after the game to motivate you in off season and right now.
Yeah, you've primarily played left tackle at this point in your career. I was wondering how the transition to right tackle has gone for you and how comfortable you feel at that spot at this point in fall camp.
Yeah, for sure. I just feel like if you're playing offensive line, it's called offensive lineman for a reason. It's not, some people are only tackles, some people are only specific parts of the line and stuff like that. But I just feel like it shows versatility, and you can play both sides of the ball. And you can block somebody, you can block somebody. I feel like so, just being able to show something else and be versatile for sure.
You guys lost. I guess you're the only guy that started last year full time. I guess that's still here. They lost four other starters. How does this line? How's it coming together? I know some of those guys got some spot starts here and there, but how do you feel about this group?
Yeah, I feel like we have a experienced group. As crazy as it sounds, because it might not look as such, but a lot of the guys in the room got a lot of snaps last year when you really look at it, and so I just feel like I said earlier, it's just more about just coming together and molding as one, because the offensive line is the only position on the field where five have to come together as one. So it's not really about individuals or who played or who hasn't played. It's about how we can come together as one and play the best we can play. It's all five together.
Ernest, you were banged up a little bit last year and you missed some games. Just how are you feeling? I guess camp's about halfway done and going into this year. And did you change anything in the off season about just the way you prepared and what's kind of your feelings about having an opportunity to kind of show what you can do?
Yeah, for sure. Playing football, nobody's ever going to be healthy, especially playing in the SEC with the physical brand of football that we take pride in playing here at Georgia. So, you'll never, you'll always be knick-knacked and banged up. But as far as off-season attacking, just making sure I stayed on top of a prehab and not rehab, just being proactive about making sure everybody feels good and everything, keeping everything on track and on target, keep moving so there's no setbacks, for sure.
Yeah, what have you seen out of Monroe since the end of last season and over the first couple of weeks of fall camp?
Yeah, I mean, you come to the University of Georgia to compete with the best, and that's what I feel like we have. So just being able to, he pushes me every day, I push him every day to just be the best that we can both be, regardless of any scenarios. Because at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is winning championships and being a good offensive line. So we push each other to be the best that we could be day in and day out, for sure.
Can you tell us about some of the guys working next to you at right guard? Michael, Daniel, Juan Gaston got some reps there. Can you talk about those guys?
Yeah, I'm not trying to sound like a broken record, but you come to Georgia for depth, and that's one of the things that we have in the O-line room for sure. So, just I'm honestly personally excited just to see, the young guys, see them develop, see what they can turn into, and what they want to do on the field. So, really excited to see the future's bright for them.
Ernest, how would you describe your camp so far, and then what was sort of your motivation to get the season started and get the season underway?
Winning is definitely the motivation. Just not ending the year like we ended last year, and it's the standards set pretty high around here to what we have to do at the end of the season and trying to play through January and stuff. So that's really the motivating factor for me.
Ernest, when you came in, we asked a lot of the veteran guys about you. I mean, you're obviously a pretty statuesque guy that came with great hype. I guess I want to zero in a little bit on Juan. I mean, his size is just something else, and Kirby's talked about him losing the weight. And how do you try to help a younger player like that? Like you once were the guy with the big ceiling that, seems like there's obviously a microscope on a guy with that much size and upside.
Well, for sure, Juan's a mammoth of a human being, so it'll be a lot of attention to him no matter where he's at or where he goes. But like with that, it's just about people. You wouldn't be at Georgia for no reason, so it's just a matter of fact to just tighten it up, little stuff like making sure everything just reps, specifically type stuff, because it takes reps. It takes football to get the football shape. It takes football to get good at football. So just getting more reps in, getting the reps together, so we can see all the different pressures and stuff, movement, and know where you're supposed to be at all the right times.
Ernest, what's been your impressions of Chauncey Bowens as he goes through his second fall camp?
He's a talented back, for sure. That's one of the things we take pride in the O-line room, just knowing if we give holes for the guys that we have carrying the ball, that we can have explosive plays, and explosive plays win games. So wanted to make sure that we just do our job up front so the ball carriers can have a field day.
Yeah, on the defensive line, what have you seen from Christen Miller, and what's maybe, if anything, has been different about him this fall camp as he steps up to be a leader in that room?
Yeah, for sure. Me and Christian came in the same time, class 2022, so we had a little bit of relationship going back since high school coming in, and just watching, competing every day and seeing where he's come to, like where he is today compared to how he was when we first got here, and just the growth in both of us and iron sharpening iron. And getting to go against him every day is definitely truly a blessing, so we definitely just try to make each other better. It's fun to go out there and compete with guys like that.
Yeah, you were on that 22 team that won the national championship. Do you ever bring that up when you're talking to these younger guys of, hey, I've seen firsthand what it takes to win a championship and what we need to do to get back there?
No, 1,000%. I think Coach Smart hits it right on the head with the FPE and the fire, passion, and energy, because that's definitely the motto that I know personally. I mean, I was hurt, but just being hurt and observing and being able to learn from guys and stuff that was in the room, and not only in my room but on that team, it's just the fire and the passion and the energy and the enthusiasm about the way you go to work every day and everything. And that I feel like that was really what set us apart my freshman year. So reinstilling that in the program and everything, definitely the right step. I feel like he's lead success.
Hi, you mentioned coming together as one. What's the key to doing that when you have a group composed of mostly new starters, and how much do the pre-camp school sessions have to do with that?
Oh yeah, they play a major factor because if you don't know what motivates somebody to do what they do, it'll be a lot more harder to motivate them when it's 100 degrees outside and everybody's tired. Coach Smart is on the mic and everything, so you have to know what motivates somebody to do what they do to be able to get the best out of them on and off the field. And I feel like we take pride in that here.
You mentioned the heat. To this point in camp, it's not been quite as hot as we've seen in years past. Have the coaches changed anything to try to up the intensity? Because, battling through the heat usually is such an element of fall camp.
I mean, I just feel like the intensity in which we practice we'll always get good work and everything like that. So I don't feel like we really changed anything that we do. We just do what we do and what makes us Georgia Bulldogs, and just keep attacking. If we practice hard against each other every day, the sky's the limit.
Ernest, coming off the spring, and you mentioned, come off the injuries you had last year. During the summer, what did you do to not only physically prepare yourself, but mentally to try to do whatever humanly possible, over that time frame to be able to make it through the season?
Yeah, for sure. Just not taking anything for granted. Last year I missed several games, missed a few games. And just when that's sitting on the back of your mind and you're in rehab and you're recovering and everything, trying to get back right and stay ahead of the sticks and everything, it's just something that keeps you motivated, not taking anything for granted, for sure, and live in the moment. That's one of the things we pride ourselves on in Georgia, is win the moment. Right now, the next moment will be the 225 team meeting that we're getting ready for. So just living in the moment, attacking the moment, for sure, definitely helps that process.
Ernest, what is a training camp like, just for an offensive lineman? Obviously, communication and feel for the other person is huge, and having that camaraderie as offensive lineman. Just what is camp like, and is there any meetings where you guys try to just get to know each other, or are you guys sick of each other, just being out there in the heat all day?
Camp is it's supposed to be hard. It's supposed to bring in the core of who you are as a person. It's easy. Coach Smart says all the time, it's easy to see who wants to be at camp practice 1 through 4, because that's he calls them the pom-pom practices. But then once you get later into camp and you get all through the rest of the practice all the way through 15, you see who's really out there to play for the love of the game and who's out there to play the game how it's supposed to be played and stuff like that when it gets hard, when everybody's getting tired, and like I mentioned, the heat and stuff like that. So that that's really all it is going back to the skull sessions a little bit earlier too, knowing somebody's why and stuff like that. It definitely can't it brings you together more as a unit and as a team, for sure.
You mentioned earlier about the intensity with which you guys practice. Can you tell me more about that? What does that feel like to go through? What is the value of it?
Oh yeah, one thing I can say about being at Georgia is it's 4th and 1 every day, and if it's 4th and 1 every day, then when it's actually 4th and 1, you'll be used to it. So if practice is hard every day, then the games will definitely follow suit and won't be as hard as practice. So that's the whole goal of everything we do around here, to put us in 4th and 1 every day, so that when we're in the situations that we're in, we're able to manage.
Ernest, you guys lost a lot of defenders on the edge. Some very good guys went off to the NFL. So now everybody's turning to look at Gabe Harris, Quintavious Johnson. What can you tell me about those two guys?
Yeah, hard-nosed guys. Kind of the same thing I was talking about with Percy, with Gabe. I'm a year older than him, but still, just when him coming in as a freshman and just going against him for 3 years and just seeing like the development and the stuff that the G puts into people and how people, if you buy into it, what can happen. So, it's just fun to go against guys like that every day at practice. All the guys in that room are very talented and stuff, and definitely got to work for your reps around here for sure.
Ernest, you've been playing with Drew Bobo for a while now. How would you describe his journey and what's impressed you the most about it?
The thing about Bobo that'll surprise everybody is, the football IQ is there, obviously, but it's just the grit and to be offensive lineman, especially a center in particular, you got to be kind of grimy, stick your face in there every play. So I feel like that's what Bobo excels at. It's just the grit aspect of how to play the game the right way.
Ernest, thank you.
Thank you all.